Asselmoilanen, ongelmatonta organisaatiopsykologiaa. Podcastin tarjoilee henkilöarvioinnin erikoisyritys Asselmointi Oy.
The dawn of artificial intelligence is here. We all grew up watching Terminator, who was not the Terminator, but a protector. The theme in pop culture is that AI is here to destroy us. Then the President of the United States saves us. I don't see neither happening. Why would AI destroy us? And why would the US President save us? At least not the one that's reigning at the moment. Or the next one either. A little bit of an idiot, I think. What about psychology? Is AI an opportunity where psychologists become more efficient, happier, productive, friendlier, and more beautiful because of AI? Or is AI going to take psychologists' jobs, spread everyone's data, and give unethical advice to people? I don't know. Lasse knows. Today, Asselmoilanen, a workplace tech and future psychologist, Lasse Hönsen. Lasse is known to have a friendly neighbor. Welcome, Lasse. Juho is here. He too has a neighbor, not so friendly.
Cool.
Okay, welcome, Juho. My name is Matti. Welcome, Lasse. I also have a neighbor.
Thank you, Matti. What a great introduction.
We used to work with Lasse once upon a time, 15 years ago. That was best days of my times. Lasse, tell us what you are and what are you good at? Ooh. Especially what you are. Not who, but what.
What am I?
What are you?
I'm a Norwegian to start with. No, I'm a organizational psychologist by training. Worked in the assessment space actually for going on
forever.
You said 15 years ago. We were aging. You still look beautiful and young, Matti. I lost all my hair, and trying to compensate with a little bit more facial hair. But other than that, times are good. Also spent some years in HR, actually. That's where I ended up after I finished studying. If you backtrack like 24 years, I was actually graduating as a systems developer and programmer just as the famous IT bubble burst.
Okay, so you can actually code.
Yes.
If needed.
Yes, I wouldn't say that I've honed my skills because I focused more on psychology, for the better part of my career. But that kind of mix between having the technological understanding and interest in combination with the psychology background has served me quite well. If you're looking at the space I spent most of my time, dealing with assessments and development and these things around, making high quality assessments, basically. That's gone from paper and pencil until now, where AI, as you said, is getting into the mix.
Lasse is not that old. He did have computer-assisted tests when he started his career. It's not like he's like 70 years old.
But there were, even if you go like 10, 15 years back, Matti, there were still some that used paper and pencils. The Norwegian armed forces, they actually still do paper and pencil.
There are many assessment companies in Finland who still do it.
Yeah.
It's very worrying.
Yeah. Then you had like some of the huge executive search companies, they had like this 3-4 hour half-day assessments on-site, paper and pencil.
Classroom.
Develop their own kind of assessments. And you see less of that now and more of technology, more cloud-based, more AI. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So Lasse is a bad coder, but a good psychologist.
Good. So, hopefully.
Which one do you hope to be more?
I know that I'm a bad coder, but hopefully I can add some more professionalism around the psychology part. Yeah.
Hey, this might be interesting to some listeners and probably less interesting to others, but what's the latest in assessment, psychology, and technology? What are we seeing at the moment?
Oh, that's an interesting question, because we see, I think when we saw the dawn of what generative AI is capable of with the kind of like the first version of ChatGPT, the GPT 3.5 to be technically specific, so GPT had some earlier versions, but that was kind of like when it opened the eyes for the common man or woman to kind of understand what's the potential there. But, these things have been fairly well known for people like us in the assessment space. Both you and I were part of a company where we used earlier versions of generative AI to make AI solutions going back into 2016. We had some solutions in place. So for me, it's not new, but it's interesting to see how, I would say for the first time, feel like confident that we will not see an AI winter, as they call it. But
AI winter?
Yeah, because you have these spikes historically where there's a lot of focus on AI. And then you have what you call an AI winter because all the interest kind of drops down. Now I think it's actually at kind of like this pivotal kind of turning point where I think it has done some major leaps ahead. And you basically see it with all the solutions that are popping up, solving all sorts of problems.
Yeah, okay.
But what hasn't been taken into consideration maybe is the ethical and responsible part of it.
Yep.
So I think we will see more now where people start to question a lot of the solutions that are already built and being used by a lot of companies out there. More kind of like defensibility, more... our clients will ask more to document how does this actually work and so on and so forth, because a lot of these solutions, especially when we're talking about AI, are what you call black box solutions.
Yep.
So people don't understand how they work, and all the traditional methods of kind of like predictive validity and all these kinds of things that you apply to more traditional measurements of, let's say, psychometric tools as an example. You can't apply the same principles to these AI solutions, So it's harder to kind of like gauge how they actually work.
Absolutely.
Because some of them are what you call, don't know if you're familiar with it, but you call them neural networks.
Yep.
So kind of like a part of neural networks are how they can build out themselves and actually find kind of like connections that the developers didn't think of, so it finds patterns and then it constantly builds out what it's able to predict. And at some point it becomes a black box because even the developers don't fully understand how the model operates.
Asselmoilanen podcastin mahdollistaa Asselmointi Oy. Asselmointi on 2020-luvun henkilöarviointiyritys. Ainoa asia, mitä teemme, ovat arvioinnit. Ne teemme kunnolla, mutta kivasti ja elämänmyönteisesti, ilman pönötystä.
Asselmoinnilla on 4 arvoa. Vahvuuspohjaisuus, olemme hysteerisen kiinnostuneita ehdokkaiden vahvuuksista. Kantaottavuus, suosittelemme ehdokkaita asteikolla, suositellaan tehtävään tai ei suositella tehtävään. Selkeää ja näppärää. Nopeus. Teemme arvioinnit asiakkaan ja ehdokkaan aikataulujen mukaan. Keskimäärin arviointi valmis 3 vuorokaudessa tilauksesta. Viimeisenä elämänmyönteisyys. Tällaista rentoa meidän kanssa hommailu on, niin kuin täällä radiossakin kuulet.
Kaikki tiedot, hinnat, palvelut ja tilauslomakkeet löydät nettisivuiltamme asselmointi.fi. Mene sinne, emme tuhlaa aikaasi.
This is like a black box podcast. Nobody understands how this operates and why we do this. And
what goes in, what goes out. It's totally random.
And we don't understand why anybody would listen to this. But so such a black box podcast. But Juho, where were you when you first heard about ChatGPT?
I can't remember. It was not a remarkable moment in my life.
It really was.
It didn't. As you learned from this podcast, I'm still one of the skeptics because I'm still trying to find a good use case for it.
Well, where were you when Diana died?
I was still a guy shitting in my pants, I guess.
Shitting in your pants?
I was so young.
1996?
Yes. I
Yeah,
was
okay.
12 years old. I was a bit immature.
Okay, cool.
It wasn't. I remember 9/11. That's what I start to remember, these kind of things.
Where were you on 9/11?
I was home watching TV.
This is not very good podcast. Keep it interesting.
No, I have actually a real question for Lasse, if you let me talk about the subject and not about sitting in my pants, which is not my favorite subject. We'll cover that later.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm teaching assessment to some people, and nobody believes this, but this week even I have a training course for psychologists about how to do assessment. And what I always say is that, and this is not necessarily true, but it sounds good, I always tell them that assessment is 50% about understanding the job and 50% about understanding the person. And for me, it seems a lot of the product and research development focuses on getting better ways of getting more out of the person, more quickly or more accurately or with a better user experience. But for me, at least, it seems that there's much less innovation in the kind of whole job analysis or organizational dynamics analysis stuff. So why aren't we seeing, or are we just looking in the wrong places? Because if you go to PsyOp, which is a conference, I think probably the best conference in the world for organizational psychology, there's no technological innovation in this other half of the job, which is actually understanding the work and the job you're assessing for. So have you encountered any development on that area?
I think there's some, that try to kind of like build these kind of matching tools that are going to solve kind of matching early on. And I think, the problem with it is that it's not universal kind of what, let's use a business controller as a role that most people have heard of, A business controller in one organization isn't necessarily a business controller in another organization.
Yeah.
So that you could have that, there's maybe some transferable skills. You need to know kind of like accounting or something like that, But it's kind of like, finding that right fit for that right team in that right organization. And I think that's why we historically have put so much focus on the individual coming into that role more than kind of like the role per se. But I think it's very interesting what you say, because I think for sure it would be great to see some development there. Yeah. I personally am involved in some kind of things around that where we try to kind of like see how you can apply AI to read job descriptions to say something about what's the necessary kind of like behavioral traits or something like that for any given role,
Yeah.
So there's a very interesting potential there, to try to apply the kind of like knowledge base that these large language models now give opportunity to kind of like tap into.
Yeah.
So I think we will see a lot of these kind of solutions built upon these bigger models.
Yeah.
Because I think some of those those very famous kind of AI researchers, looking at Jan LeCun from Meta or some person like that, they always keep saying that to create your own large language model, it costs so much resources, both in time and energy and actual energy, energy consumption, but also money, of course. That you will run, the real cool stuff will be the things built upon these pre-existing large models, because there will be few organizations that have the money to actually develop their own kind of like, look at OpenAI, I don't know how many $1 billion they spent training those models, Now they're earning like $2 billion in recurring revenue or something, and they still lose money, so it's very complex to build out. But as I think the things that will be put on top of this is very interesting. Also for our line of field, also for work psychologists, there will be not just assessments, but it will be related to development and all sorts of stuff. I think we'll see cool things.
Absolutely, like appraisals and stuff.
Yeah.
Diana died in 1997. Just check the internet, so anybody who got upset there.
Yeah, so I was 13 when I shot my pants.
Well done. Super happy to know this. Where were you, Lasse, when you first heard about ChatGPT?
Oh, wasn't that kind of remarkable for me either? So I can't actually remember that time. Me and you are similar. I don't know, not in terms of shitting our pants when Diana died, but because I'm a couple of years older than you, so I would be like 18 or something then. So yeah, but I remember very vividly where I was on 9/11. So that's where we are comparable.
Okay. So that was a big life event for you. I can remember where I was when I first heard about ChatGPT. I was on a bay run in Sydney in Australia, and sort of my friend Rohier was running in front of me, and I thought I'll catch him, and he took his shirt off. We learned earlier today in the previous episode that he might have been a narcissist, showing off his upper body.
But surely a light narcissist.
No, he's very heavy. He's tall. He's like 2 meters and 11 centimeters.
So
heavy narcissist.
Okay.
Without a shirt. Anyhow, and he told me about ChatGPT and said, when you go and take a shower, then log in there and look what it can do. And I did. And it was amazing. It could do anything. I was impressed. So what will happen in the future? Is there going to be people like me and you doing assessments, or is it going to be Terminator doing the assessments? So what's going to happen?
Now, what I find very, very interesting now that you already see this kind of, arms race in terms of AI, especially if you use hiring or selection kind of as a use case.
Yeah.
You already see now, that candidates or job seekers, they are applying AI where they can see benefits. For instance, they use models like GPT or similar to help them craft resumes, and these kind of cover letters and all sorts of things.
Yeah.
So I'm in that kind of bucket of people that thinks that a lot of the information we gather when we do selection will be very similar.
Yeah.
Everything will look the same. So I think the part which is actually carving out where's the individual differences, assessments being an example of that, is going to be even more important for the foreseeable future, because we need to separate the signals from the noise. Yeah. And I think there will be a lot of noise in terms of AI fighting AI, so job seekers who will use AI to kind of try to get past CV screening tools and similar stuff. And then organizations are using these CV screening tools to look for key skills, keywords, etc., And then you have this AI fighting with AI kind of scenario. And then I think we will need to do assessments even more thoroughly, and maybe also on a wider scale, to be able to get insights into who are these people applying for our jobs.
Okay, maybe listener, you weren't paying attention. Now you have to pay attention, because this was important. So people are using AI to make better applications and better resumes.
Yes.
So there's no way of sort of setting yourself apart, because everybody else has a flashy resume like you.
Yes.
And now sort of the only thing that we can do is still sort of ask information directly from you, which you have to provide to us while you're sitting there doing the assessments. I think that's super interesting. And I think that's super important as well if you're a recruiter or a talent acquisition person or anybody sort of dealing with applications. You have to start understanding that it's not the person talking, it's the AI talking.
Yeah. And, for me, cover letters are dead, to be blunt. I also think that the resumes are quite challenged now, because people are, you have these solutions now, basically web extensions that you can, for instance, like if you use Google Chrome, you have these kind of extensions that you can plug into your browser. And there's one, I don't remember if it's called Apply AI or AI Apply, but it's a YouTube video where the developer explains how it works. It takes 90 seconds or something. And in that 90 seconds, he has gotten the job role. He has pushed a button, so his LinkedIn resume is feeded into the kind of system. Yeah. And then it looks at his resume from LinkedIn and highlights the most important stuff for that job role. Yeah. And based upon that, it tailors the CV but it also writes a cover letter. So his application for that job role is very kind of like suited for how he is going to look as the best possible version of himself.
Yeah.
But it's made in 90 seconds,
Yeah.
So in that 90-second video, he shows how he can tailor everything. But it's basically the AI doing all of the work,
Yeah.
And I think that is very interesting because is that cheating? Or is it not? For me, I think it's not cheating. I think it's making use of available tools out there to try to show yourself off and why you are relevant for this role,
Yep.
So I think it's a very, very interesting ethical kind of discussion that we need to take now in terms of should AI be allowed, not allowed, when employers are using it to kind of like sift out candidates and such, why shouldn't candidates be able to use it for their own purposes, and this whole kind of level the playing field kind of approach, which is very interesting. I at least find that very interesting. And I think we need to have that discussion if you look at the global landscape around how to do talent acquisition and hiring and everything.
Yeah, recruiters, back at you. 90 seconds, coincidentally, is exactly the same amount of time that I can concentrate.
It's not so long.
Juho,
Yeah.
when was the last time that you cheated on a psychometric assessment?
Cheated on a psychometric assessment.
The last time.
I think it has been a long time when I completed a psychometric assessment, so I have to remember that.
So that was the same time.
Yeah.
Good.
I don't think I ever cheated on a test. I've done then purposefully trying to get a certain kind of profile, but I don't consider that to be cheating. I haven't been using any special tools, but it would be great though. Yeah.
Hey Lasse, I know on the other hand that you've started a company called Fairsight, which cool company. I would wear its shirt any day of the week. So what about Fairsight? Sort of, we've heard about SHL and maybe Aon and Qt and what have you. What's so special about this Fairsight? Why do we need another assessment company? And what does it do better than the others?
We will want to help people with this kind of like finding the hidden diamonds, so to speak, the diamonds in the rough, the talent that often go unseen by others, but also kind of help you with figuring out who is looking at leaders who have this kind of like toxic leadership style that you want to stop. So at one point we want to open the funnel for more people and stop some people, especially in leadership roles. But the reason why we're called Fairsight is mainly the focus on opening the funnel at the top for more people, because we still see a lot of talent being unfairly treated. It could be like stats, showing that a highly qualified immigrant can use 8, 9, 10 years to have a job that matches their qualifications. If you look at some Nordic countries, we have quite good data on this in Norway, but also in Sweden. So I don't know how that is in Finland.
Similar,
but, and you have age, where people are like maybe plus 55, you become outdated for some strange reason. Looking at the demographic the development in the developed countries, you see that that's the math doesn't add up. You need to tap into that pool of people. But it could be also females in senior leadership positions. It's still a fact that roughly around 6% of the 500 biggest companies globally, the Fortune Global 500, 5.8% are led by female CEOs.
How much? 5.8?
Yes.
6%?
Yes. Of the biggest companies globally.
Such a waste of talent.
Yeah. And neurodiversity, it's a huge topic in Norway and Sweden, the autism being one example of that, where we could see very interesting statistics actually. If you look at the US, data from the US shows that 2/3 of people on the autism spectrum are unemployed.
Okay.
And you see the exact same stats here in Norway. But if you look at those societies, they are hugely different. But you still find comparable statistics. I find that very interesting because there's a lot of people there that aren't given the chances that they deserve. And if you look at hiring as an example, where a lot of them actually probably are stopped at the interview, for example, because we know that some people that are on the spectrum can be what many will perceive as like kind of socially awkward, so they don't understand all of those social codes, and some of these things are highly relevant when we do interviews and talk to each other, I mean, if people come across as weird or something like that, or atypical for us, then you don't hire them. And what we want to do with Fairsight is making people more safe in kind of like making the unsafe decision, so to speak, because my hypothesis, which I truly believe, is that a lot of biases and a lot of kind of like uncertainty centers around selecting something that is unfamiliar for us, So if you're used to always hiring Finns, why should you hire one ethnic minority, How can we make you more sure of kind of like taking that leap, And I think some of that our kind of solution can help people with, in terms of being more sure that this is the right talent to bet upon.
Diversity and inclusion, that's like the keywords I can hear from there. And also accessibility, I think that's one of the things that we haven't been very good at in the psychology or assessment world, the accessibility towards the tools. And there's a lot of barriers, for example, how things are displayed on the screen.
Yes.
For colorblind people or people who have dyslexia and what have you.
Yeah.
So they've been sort of shoved under the bus. Yes. And I think we had a good conversation on the phone a couple of weeks ago, which was interesting, that sort of just using ChatGPT, a lot of the traditional ability tests can be cracked, like the verbal ability test, feed in the data, and it tells you the right answers.
Yes.
And that's not what we want, because then again, we've taken one more tool from our toolbox to assess the people and rate who's good and bad.
Yeah, and the same applies for personality inventories here. And if you look at personality inventories that are built in the old traditional way, what we call normative measures, kind of Likert point scales, 1 to 5, 1 to 7 or something like that. A lot of that data is very easily accessible for like solutions like GPT, They have we have this something called IPIP, if you're familiar with that, kind of like common accessible items for personality inventories.
Yeah.
All of that data has also been fed into the GPT. So a lot of kind of like very common measures of different human characteristics, be it extroversion or agreeableness or whatever, is something that that machine knows a lot about.
Yes.
So it's very good that kind of, if you feed them some input around, this is the job I applied for, I want to be a good fit for this role, I've been given the task of completing a personality assessment, it's based on the Big Five, and you can give all of these prompts to the GPT, and then it will guide you in terms of how to actually respond to the items as you go. So you can basically fill in item per item, and it will give you some suggestions on this you should probably be a 4, on this a 5, or a 1,
Yeah, it's not really, this is not like the cheat radio for psychometric test, even though it maybe should be.
Yeah.
But I think sort of in the future, if you are doing recruitment, you might want to look into the more modern tests that have been done in the 2020s rather than the old tests that sort of still display the old.
Yeah, there are ways to safeguard this more, and some of it is very kind of under the hood, so to speak. Yeah. It's something called forced choice. You could build upon something called item response theory. You could make these very complex algorithms under the hood, and how you kind of like display and the sequence of items and all sorts of things. And then all of this adds complexity for the GPT to actually crack what's the right answer here. And then maybe it's still not 100% safe then either, but you're in a scenario where a candidate needs to kind of like use 3 hours to complete the assessment then, And of course you can use 3 hours if it's a personality assessment, but there's less people actually willing to commit that time then, So yeah, it's very interesting times to actually be developing stuff. And we in Fairsight are quite lucky that we were able to build things as this revolution actually happened,
Yeah.
So we could actually test our stuff in the GPT as we developed, we could see how does this actually pan out, how safe is it, and so on and so forth. And that's very interesting times.
Yeah. I can remember that sort of the whole unsupervised test stigma was there around before, and sort of maybe you remember our friend Harpreet from India who created CoCubes. And they had this eye on the sky technology that takes pictures of people when they complete the test, and then you can watch people complete the tests and they look like idiots in front of their computers, as you do. Harpreet also has a podcast. I don't know, have you heard his podcast? Have you heard
and it's about child rearing or something, isn't
Absolutely.
it?
It's called The Curious Parent. I think, Lasse, you should listen to this podcast. And I was looking at their webpage, and he has like episodes like How to Raise a Genius. Maybe you could listen to that. And then maybe somebody else could listen to the episode number 7, Does Hitting Children Work? I tried to listen to it because I was curious parent. But it was in Hindi, so I didn't get much out of it. So, anyhow, if you know the answer, just email us and tell, does hitting children work? Any thoughts, Juho, about this or hitting your children or anything else?
Not many. To answer the actual question, if technology for organizational psychologists is a friend or foe, I would assume it's more of a friend. And I think we've just learned during this talk today that actually technology can help us to be more objective and make better decisions, be part of the solution, and not be the problem that we need to be protected against. I'd like to think like that.
And what do you think, Lasse? Are we the problem or are we the solution?
Oh, my future, I think we will have humans and technology working together, and we will be better versions of ourselves because of that. But I don't think, it's a case of either or. I think it's a combination. So I think, technology together with humans is probably the best path going forward. For me, that means, you need that human in the loop when you devise technology, as an example. I think it's smart to have human supervision on stuff. But I think together you can achieve very cool stuff. Kind of like a high-tech, high-touch kind of approach to giving it. I think that's the future I envision, and I think also will pan out.
It's very lovely. But hey, Lasse, what's your 2 concrete advice for the recruiting human, the TA manager or the recruiting manager or whoever, the person who recruits? 2 very concrete advice. What should you do?
Make sure to understand the technology that you use is at least one important aspect. And in relation to that, demand also from your vendors some kind of documentation or something on how does this actually work, to be sure that you're applying technology that actually adds value to your processes, not just some fancy bells and whistles. Because now it will be a lot of different options to choose from. I see vendors popping up everywhere in the kind of HR tech space, solving all sorts of different stuff. And a lot of it looks really fancy and cool, but just make sure to do a proper DD process, a due diligence when you actually try to find someone that can help you with some technology, because a lot of it out there will be shit, to be blunt.
Yeah. Do you have any advice, Juha?
For recruiting managers, get some help. Yeah, get a professional. Recruitment it's in today's job market at least, requires professionalism, and you need someone who has expertise and has been working full time on recruitment. Get someone like that to either advise you or do the job.
That's a great advice.
Good advice. You can call Juho or Lasse. Don't call me. I won't be answering. But thank you, Lasse. Hey, thanks for joining us. Lovely stuff.
Thank you.
And lovely work with Fairside. Really looking forward what comes out of the pipeline. And Thanks, Juho.
to be here.
Stop shitting yourself.
I'm trying my best.
About time.
Yeah.
Okay, regards to Princess Diana. Thank you for listening. Next week, more weird stuff. Thank you. Bye-bye.